Your mind is not your enemy, my dear. It is a very sensitive, very loyal child that has been trying to keep you safe with the tools it learned long ago. Your mind is always listening, always taking notes, always asking, what are we believing today? What are we obeying today? And that is why I want to help you build a new kind of relationship with it. Not a war, but a friendship. You don't need to beat your mind into submission. You don't have to fight your thoughts like a villain in a movie. You are not here to conquer yourself. You are here to gently take yourself by the hand and say, "Come home, sweetheart." We're going to learn a different way now. When we talk about training the mind to obey you, what I really mean is helping your mind learn to follow your loving direction instead of your old fears. You are the only thinker in your mind. That is one of my favorite truths. You are not a victim of the thoughts that show up. You are the one who decides which thoughts get to stay and which ones get to go. And when your mind feels less chaotic, the universe has such a clear, bright channel to work through. Life can send you ideas, opportunities, people, little nudges, and you actually hear them because you are not drowning in mental noise. So let's redefine this word, obey, because many of you carry old memories of authority that was harsh and unkind. Obey, in the way I'm using it, does not mean bully yourself into action. It means my mind learns to follow my loving direction. Feel the difference. One comes with tight shoulders, clenched jaw, a voice that says, "Do it now or you are a failure." The other comes with a hand on the heart saying, "I'm here with you." We are going to take one small step together. Your mind will always resist commands that feel like a threat. If you shout at yourself, "You must do this right now or else," your nervous system hears danger, and it will either fight you, freeze, or run away into distraction. But when you say, "I choose to start now, just for 10 seconds, just to show myself I can begin," your mind hears safety. It hears permission. It hears that you are not going to punish it. That is when it relaxes enough to cooperate. The mind obeys love far more easily than it obeys fear. I want you to notice the two kinds of instructions you give yourself. There is the tense order. I have to finish all of this today. If I don't, I'm useless. I must get up right now. If I don't, I've ruined the day. I should do more. I should be better. I should never feel this way. Do you feel how tight that is? This kind of command creates inner rebellion because a part of you feels pushed around and unheard. Then there is the softer instruction. I choose to start now, and I will only focus for 10 minutes. I am willing to show up for this one small piece. I don't have to be perfect. I only need to be present. These softer commands don't mean you are lazy. They mean you are wise. You are learning to lead yourself the way a kind parent leads a child, clearly, consistently, but with gentleness. When you treat yourself this way, you are training your mind to trust you. And once the mind trusts you, it will follow you more and more readily. It will begin to learn. When she says we're going to do this, she doesn't hurt me. She holds me. It's safe to listen. Now, let's talk about how your mind actually learns to obey you. It is not about what is true in some abstract sense. It is about what you repeat, especially when you repeat it with feeling. Your subconscious is like rich soil that responds to seeds, not lectures. You can come with the cleverest thought in the world, but if you only think it once and never feel it, it will not take root. At the same time, you can repeat, "I'm such a mess. I never follow through. Nothing works for me," with a lot of emotion, and your subconscious will say, "Ah, this must be important. We will build our reality around this." I call this the law of emotional repetition. Whatever you repeat with feeling becomes the script your mind obeys. This is why affirmations are not silly. They are simply new scripts, rehearsed often enough for your inner child to believe them. So instead of telling yourself, "My mind is out of control, I can't change," begin with, "I am learning to guide my mind with love." Notice that little phrase, "I am learning." It is very powerful. It acknowledges where you are and opens a door to where you are going. You can say, "I am learning to show up. I am learning to focus. I am learning to choose kinder thoughts." Every time you catch yourself falling into an old mantra, "I can't do this. I never stick with anything," you gently interrupt and say, "That is an old instruction. The new instruction is, I am willing to do 10 seconds. I am willing to take one small step." That willingness is how you send a new signal to the subconscious. We are not fighting anymore. We are retraining. The universe joins in when you do this. When you speak a loving, consistent instruction, life begins to bring you support, tools, and experiences that match it. You decide, "I'm learning to focus," and suddenly you feel nudged to turn off one notification, or you meet someone who talks about deep work, or you stumble on a book that helps you. This is not an accident. You are becoming a clearer channel. There is another piece that is very important. We often think we are failing when the old habit comes back. You decide, "I'm going to meditate every morning." You do it for 3 days, and on the 4th day, you forget. Immediately, the harsh voice says, "See, you can't do anything consistently. Why bother?" My dear, this is just the mind snapping back to the old track, because there isn't a strong new track yet. Trains run where the rails are. When you haven't laid fresh rails, the train of your attention will naturally go back to the familiar route. That doesn't mean you are broken. It means you are in the middle of building. So instead of making your lapse into a drama, you can say, "Oh, this is the gap. This is where the old pattern tries to come back. I was not bad. I was simply on the old track for a moment." Then you lay the rail again with one small loving command. "Let's come back now. Just 5 breaths. Just one email. Just one drawer. Just one page." If you understand this, you stop interpreting every slip as a verdict on your worth. The gap between your intention and your habit is the place where you practice. It is where you get to say, "I forgive myself. I start again now." You do not train the mind by screaming at it when it stumbles. You train it by always bringing it gently back. Imagine you are teaching a puppy to come when you call its name. If you yell and frighten it every time it gets distracted, it will be terrified of returning. But if each time it wanders off, you call it softly, you kneel down, you open your arms, you reward it for coming back, soon it learns, oh, going back to her feels good. This is how you work with your mind. When you notice you've spent 20 minutes scrolling, you don't say, I'm hopeless. You say, ah, my mind went to the old toy. Come back, sweetheart. Let's do one loving thing now. Over time, these little corrections become the new default. The mind starts to obey the loving voice because that is the voice it hears the most often. You are no longer driven only by old fear-based commands. You are guided by conscious, gentle direction. And when your mind is aligned like this, the universe has so much room to move through you. Ideas appear more easily because there is less static. Intuition is clearer because you are present enough to hear it. Opportunities feel less frightening because you have practiced giving your mind soft instructions like, it is safe to try, it is safe to learn, it is safe to grow. You stop blocking your good with inner chaos and you begin to cooperate with life. So if you remember nothing else from this moment, remember this. Your mind is trainable and it responds best to loving repetition. You don't have to win a war against yourself. You simply choose again and again to speak to yourself as someone you love. You let your directions be clear but kind. You expect the old rails to show up and you patiently lay down the new ones. And each time you do, you tell your mind, you can trust me now. I won't abandon you. We are on the same side. I met a woman many years ago who sat in front of me, hands twisting in her lap, and said, Louise, my mind just doesn't listen to me. It runs off, it worries, it criticizes, and I don't know how to stop it. She thought she needed to become harsh with herself, to shout at her mind, to whip it into shape. And I smiled and said, my dear, your mind has been listening to harshness for a very long time. It doesn't need more of that. It needs a new language. The subconscious doesn't respond very well to threat. It responds to repetition, to gentleness, to images, and to stories. It listens to the tone more than the volume. This is why sometimes you decide to change and nothing happens, because on the inside, you're still speaking the old language of fear. Today, I want to show you 4 very simple ways to talk to your mind in a language it understands, so it can begin to relax, to cooperate, and to follow your loving direction. Think of this as learning how to speak to a very precious child who lives inside you. You don't frighten a child into blossoming. You whisper to them again and again until they feel safe enough to grow. The first language the subconscious understands is what we might call autosuggestion, but I don't want that to sound stiff or mechanical. It is simply the way you talk to yourself when no one else is listening. Many people think affirmations must be loud and dramatic. I am wildly successful. I am perfect. I am amazing every second of every day. And their whole body goes, no, we're not, and shuts down. So we soften it. An effective suggestion is short, in the present, and warm. It doesn't shout. It comforts. Instead of, I will someday trust, you say, I am learning to trust. Instead of, One day I won't be scared to receive. You say, I am safe to receive. Instead of, please, please let something good happen, you say, I allow good to come close. Feel the difference? One is begging life to rescue you. The other is opening the door from the inside. And here is my little trick. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to the person you love most in the world. If your best friend came to you scared and tired, you would not bark, get it together. You might say, you're doing your best. You're learning. I'm here with you. A few times a day, you can put your hand on your heart and whisper, I am willing to believe it can be easier for me. You don't force belief. You invite it, like you invite a friend to sit down for tea. Over time, these small, kind sentences become the new commands your mind obeys. The second language your subconscious loves is images. I like to call it your little inner cinema. Many people think visualization has to be a big Hollywood movie of massive success, grand stages, and endless applause. For most nervous systems, that is overwhelming, and the mind quietly rejects it. So we simplify. 10 to 20 seconds is enough. Close your eyes, just for a moment, and instead of seeing yourself as spectacular, see yourself as peaceful and capable. See yourself sitting at your desk, breathing easily, finishing that task that has been scaring you. Picture your shoulders dropping a little, your jaw softening, a small, real smile on your face. Feel a lightness in your chest, as if someone opened a window inside you and fresh air is coming in. That is powerful visualization. You are telling the subconscious, this is what our new normal looks like. Calm, present, able to do this. You don't need to imagine the whole future. You only need one small scene that feels kind and doable. The universe responds to this. When you hold an image of yourself moving through the day with just a little more peace, you are giving life a vibrational address to send support to. You are saying, Dear universe, this is the feeling I am choosing. Help me grow into it. And then, when opportunities appear to act from that peaceful place, a moment to pause before reacting, a chance to choose a softer thought, your mind recognizes them because it has already seen the picture. The third language is one we often forget, the language of bedtime. Your subconscious is very open just before you fall asleep. It is like a child being tucked in. I call this the lullaby technique. You don't need a long speech. In fact, long speeches at night usually turn into worry. Instead, we give the mind one soft word, like a blanket. Safe, peace, supported, guided. You can lie in bed, place a hand gently on your heart or on your belly, and breathe slowly. With each exhale, you repeat a simple phrase, I am willing to feel safe, or I am willing to be at peace. Notice, I am not asking you to declare, I am perfectly peaceful when you are clearly upset. We are not lying to ourselves. We are singing to ourselves, I am willing. I am willing. You let the phrase rock you a little the way you might rock a baby. The aim here is not to win an argument with your fear. The aim is to soothe the nervous system enough that the new idea can slip in the way a melody slips into your mind. Your subconscious loves rhythm more than logic, so you let the words become a little song, slow and repetitive. All is well, all is well, all is well. Even if a part of you doesn't fully believe it yet, another part is listening, relaxing, opening. Night after night, you are wrapping your inner child in a new message. And do you know what happens? You wake up a little less tense, a little more open, and your daytime thoughts begin to soften too, because the night has been quietly healing you. The fourth language may be the strongest of all, story language. The mind does not really remember lectures. It remembers the story you tell about who you are. If for years your inner narration has been, I'm the one who always messes up, I'm the anxious one, I'm the procrastinator, I'm the one nobody chooses, your subconscious will obediently create feelings and choices that match that script. It is not punishing you. It is simply following the story. So we change the story, not with grand lies, but with new directions. I'm always procrastinating becomes, I am becoming someone who starts earlier than before. I never follow through becomes, I am learning to complete what matters to me. No one ever chooses me becomes, I am beginning to choose people and places that truly see me. Do you feel how the story shifts from hopeless to hopeful, from fixed to growing? I often ask people to write 5 lines of a new little biography for themselves, as if you were describing the version of you 6 months from now. You might write, she speaks kindly to herself in the mornings. She takes small, consistent steps toward her dreams. She listens to her body and honors its signals. She chooses relationships where she feels respected. She trusts that life is on her side. These 5 lines become a new story your mind can rehearse. You can read them every day, maybe in the morning and before bed, not as a demand, but as an invitation. This is who I am becoming. This is the direction we are walking in together. Your subconscious says, oh, we are this person now, and begins to look for ways to make it true. Tiny changes in behavior, new boundaries, different responses. So, my dear, you see that training your mind to obey you is not about force, it is about fluency. Auto-suggestions give your mind warm, simple sentences to follow. Visualization offers it clear, peaceful pictures of what is possible. The lullaby technique rocks your subconscious into receiving new beliefs while you rest. And story language rewrites the entire script your life has been performing. You don't have to do all of these perfectly. You can start with one. You can begin tonight with one little phrase before sleep, or this afternoon with one small, kind image of yourself handling something well. Each time you practice, you are teaching your mind. We are under new management now, loving management. And as your mind learns this new language, the universe has more and more room to work through you, to guide you, to surprise you. In a little while, I want to show you how to gather these tools into a gentle daily rhythm so that day by day, thought by thought, you become the safe, steady leader your mind has been longing for. Now that you understand this, let's take the next step. We've been talking about how your mind responds to tone, to images, to stories, and to gentle repetition. Now I want to show you how to bring all of that down into the tiniest unit of your day, the next 3 seconds. Your mind is like a very bright, very imaginative child. It will come up with 1,000 reasons to delay the thing that would actually make you feel better. So we don't give it time to create a drama. We give it a loving, simple instruction, and we move with it before the old stories have a chance to jump in. Not with harsh discipline, not with shouting inside your head, but with a kind firmness that says, "Sweetheart, we're doing this now." Think of it as teaching a child to brush their teeth. You don't hold a conference about it every night. You just say, "It's time," and you gently walk them to the sink. We're going to do the same with your mind. One little sentence, one tiny action, 3 seconds, again and again, until your mind starts to trust that when you speak with love, you mean it. So here is our 3-second rule. Choose very small commands, loving, doable, not dramatic. Stand up, drink some water, open the window, write one sentence. These are not military orders. They are invitations to life. You say them inside yourself softly but clearly. Stand up now. And then, within 3 seconds, you begin the movement. You don't wait to feel like it. You don't wait for your mind to hold a debate. The movement is the magic. Those 3 seconds are the doorway where the old habit likes to sneak in and say, "Later, not now. We're too tired." What's the point? When you move your body first, feet on the floor, hand reaching for the glass, fingers touching the notebook, you gently close that door. You are showing your mind, we don't have to think this to death. We just begin. It is not about doing the whole task perfectly. It is about honoring your own word in the smallest possible way. Even standing up is a victory when the old pattern was lying there scrolling and worrying. And what happens if you miss the 3 seconds? What happens when you give the command and then just don't? This is where most people turn the 3-second rule into a weapon. They say, "See, I failed again. I have no discipline. My mind will never listen." And the subconscious hears that and folds in on itself even more. I want you to do the opposite. If you catch yourself delaying, I want you to smile a little, the way you would smile at a toddler who wandered off, and say, "All right, my love, let's simply begin again. No punishment, no lecture, just a restart." You give a new, even smaller command. Stand up and stretch for 10 seconds. Take 3 sips of water. Write 3 words. 10 seconds is enough. 3 words are enough. You are not proving you're a good person. You are rebuilding trust between you and your mind. Every time you choose a tiny action instead of a big accusation, you are teaching your subconscious. When I say we will do something, I do not hurt you. I support you. That is how obedience becomes cooperation instead of fear. You see, my dear, your mind doesn't resist you because you are weak. It resists you because it remembers being pushed, criticized, and shamed. So when you say, "Get up, now," What's wrong with you? The old defenses rise immediately. But when you say, sweetheart, let's stand up now, just this, and you move within 3 seconds, your mind starts to experience a new pattern. Instruction followed by gentle action without the storm. The 3 seconds are not a test, they are a hug. You could say to yourself, in the next 3 seconds, I give myself the gift of beginning. And if you need to, you can count softly, 1, 2, 3, and let your body respond. No drama, no big speech, just a little shift from thinking to doing. And if you notice your mind trying to bargain, I'll start in 10 minutes, after one more video, after I feel more motivated, that's all right. You catch it with kindness and say, no bargaining today, my love. We'll just take 10 seconds together and see how it feels. Then you move. Over time, your mind learns that when you speak gently and clearly, something good follows. That is how obedience becomes safe. Now, to help your mind obey more easily, we also want to play with something I call no gap. The gap is the empty space between intention and action, where all the excuses like to live. For most people, the gap is filled with, I can't find my shoes. I don't know where my journal is. I'd go for a walk, but everything is such a mess. I'll drink water later. So we don't just fight the excuses, we take away their favorite toys. We prepare a few little tracks for your mind to run on, so that when you give a loving command, the environment quietly helps you follow through. This is not about being a strict drill sergeant. It is about being a thoughtful parent. A loving parent does not shout at the child every morning for forgetting the lunchbox. They put the lunchbox where the child can see it. In the same way, you can lay out your soft clothes or exercise clothes the night before. Put a glass or bottle of water where your hand will naturally reach in the morning. And keep a small notebook and pen on the table where you like to sit. When you do this, you are saying to your mind, I don't expect you to do all the heavy lifting. I will make it easier for you to choose well. Imagine waking up, sitting on the edge of the bed, and seeing your water already there. Your 3-second command becomes so simple. Pick up the glass. You don't have to go to the kitchen, search through the cupboards, think about which cup to use. The no gap design has already cleared the path. Or imagine you want to write one sentence every morning. If the notebook is buried in a drawer under a pile of old bills, there is a very big gap between the thought, I want to write, and the action of actually writing. But if your notebook and pen are already open on the table, you can say, write one sentence. And within 3 seconds, your hand is moving across the page. The environment is loving you. It is telling your nervous system, this is easy, this is ready. You don't have to climb a mountain to keep your promise. I want you to see how deeply loving this is. You are not asking your willpower to fight every battle. You are creating a home that supports your choices. Think of putting your walking shoes by the door, or a little yoga mat rolled out where you can see it, or a playlist of gentle music already waiting for you. Then when you say, stand up and stretch, you don't have to invent the whole routine. The mat is there, the space is there, and your body knows what to do when your feet touch that mat. No gap, just a small flow from intention to movement. If you like, You can even speak an affirmation that anchors this new style of obedience. I make it easy for myself to do the loving thing. Say it with me. I make it easy for myself to do the loving thing. I make it easy for myself to do the loving thing. I make it easy for myself to do the loving thing. Feel how different that is from, why can't I just get it together? One voice accuses, the other arranges support. And, of course, there will be days when even with water by the bed, even with shoes by the door, you still don't move in those 3 seconds. That's all right. Those are not days to declare war on yourself. Those are days to deepen trust. On those mornings, you might say, all right, my love, today our command will be even smaller. Maybe the only instruction is, sit up and take one breath. Within 3 seconds, you simply sit up and breathe. That's it. You have obeyed your own loving voice in a tiny way, and that is more healing than forcing yourself through a punishing routine. Consistency is not about doing a lot. It's about gently repeating the pattern. Clear, kind instructions, small action, no punishment. You are always free to begin again. You can say, I am learning to respond to myself with love. And each 3-second start, each glass of water, each little stretch becomes a line in a new story. The story of someone whose mind has learned that following their inner voice feels safe. So as you practice, notice what happens inside when you treat instant obedience as an act of tenderness rather than a test. The 3 seconds are not a stopwatch in the hands of a harsh coach. They are an open doorway you keep offering yourself throughout the day. Stand up now, open the window, take a sip, write one sentence. Your mind begins to know that when you speak that way, something simple, manageable, and loving will follow. And when you set up your environment with no gap, water ready, shoes waiting, notebook out, you are telling the universe, I am serious about cooperating with you. I'm not just wishing, I'm preparing. Life responds to that. Opportunities, ideas, and small synchronicities can find you more easily when you are not stuck in constant inner arguments. In the next part, I want to show you how this gentle discipline, this soft immediacy, becomes a channel for the universe to move through you so that you are not only training your mind to obey, you are training it to listen, to receive, and to act from a deeper wisdom than fear. Have you noticed that the harder you push yourself, the more your mind seems to dig its heels in and say, no, I don't want to? It can feel so confusing. You make a strong resolution. You say, this time I will be disciplined. You try to whip yourself into shape with strict rules, and yet inside, a quieter part of you begins to tremble, to imagine failing, to imagine being judged, and suddenly the resistance becomes even bigger. I want you to know, my dear, that this is not because you are broken or weak. It is because your willpower and your imagination are pulling in opposite directions. When willpower tries to command one thing while your inner pictures are showing you the opposite, that inner movie usually wins. If you force yourself to work while secretly imagining yourself exhausted, humiliated, or failing, your whole body believes that picture. It tightens. It says, danger. And when the body feels danger, it will not happily cooperate. So instead of thinking, I must be stronger, I want you to begin thinking, I can be gentler and wiser. I don't force, I allow. Say that with me softly. I don't force, I allow. You are not here to bully your mind. You are here to lead it. Think of your mind as a very sensitive child who has watched a frightening movie. If you yell at that child, stop being scared, stop imagining that, the fear does not vanish. It hides. It clings. But if you sit beside that child, put an arm around their shoulders, and give them a new, comforting image of safety, of support, of warmth, the nervous system begins to relax. This is the inverted effort I want you to learn. The less you strain and the more you soften into safe, loving images, the easier change becomes. When you say, I will force myself to do this, your imagination may start rehearsing disaster. You see yourself giving up. You see people laughing. You see yourself failing again. Notice how different it feels when you say, I will gently guide myself into this. And you picture yourself doing one small piece calmly, with a hand on your heart, breathing freely, feeling quietly proud afterward. One image tightens your chest, the other loosens it. Your mind will obey the picture that feels safer. So instead of shouting at yourself, start painting new scenes inside your mind, scenes where you are safe, where you are allowed to go slowly, where you are allowed to learn. You might say, I'm imagining myself taking just 5 minutes to focus and then resting. I'm imagining myself doing this task with a soft jaw and relaxed shoulders. I'm imagining finishing and whispering, well done, sweetheart. Now, let's look at what happens inside when you try to push past your fear. One part of you, the will, says very sternly, do it. Just do it. What's wrong with you? You should already be there. Another part of you, the heart, whispers, I'm scared. I'm tired. I don't want to be hurt again. When you ignore that scared voice and press harder, these two parts of you start a little war. You are pulling yourself in two directions at once. That war is exhausting. Instead of fighting, I want you to unify these parts. You can say, yes, I hear that I am afraid, and I am not going to abandon myself. I am afraid, and I can still begin very, very small. I am scared, and I am still safe enough to take one tiny step. Do you feel how different that is from stop being scared and just do it? In one version, you are rejecting your own heart. In the other, you are including it. You can put your hand on your chest and say, I am scared, and I am safe. I am scared, and I can start with just one gentle action. In this way, you are not forcing yourself to obey. You are walking together, you and your fear, hand in hand, taking one small step at a time. That is a very different kind of power. I often like to say that when we soften, life can finally reach us. I don't force, I allow. Allowing does not mean doing nothing. It means that your effort flows with your inner truth instead of fighting it. So before you give a command to your mind, take a moment to check What is my imagination showing me right now? If you see a scene of disaster, gently swap it for a scene of tenderness, you doing the same action with a softer face, shorter time, kinder words. If you hear a voice saying, "If I don't do it perfectly, I've failed," answer with, "No, my love. If I begin even for 10 seconds, I am healing, I am learning, I am moving." You are unifying will and heart. I want to move forward, and I will do it in a way that feels safe enough. This is inverted effort. It looks like less pressure, but it produces more change because your whole being can say yes instead of secretly saying no while you try to drag it along. Now, my dear, let's imagine what it would look like to live this way over the next 6 months, not as a boot camp, but as a healing journey where you slowly become the loving leader of your own mind. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and picture the first month as a gentle beginning, not a test. In this first month, you are not trying to prove anything. You are simply establishing the right to lead yourself. Each morning, you sit quietly for 3 to 5 minutes. You don't meditate correctly. You don't chase away thoughts. You just sit, breathe, and let your body know, "I am here with you." Then you choose one very small action to complete early in the day, maybe making the bed, emptying a little trash bin, or drinking a full glass of water. When you finish, you don't rush past it. You pause and say, "I keep my word to myself. Even if all you did was drink water, it counts." You are building trust. For 30 days, your main job is not to transform your whole life. It is to send one message again and again. When I speak to myself with love, I follow through in small ways. That is a foundation. In the second month, you gently increase the time of these loving practices, not the tension. Instead of jumping from 3 minutes to an hour, you might move from 3 to 5 or 5 to 7. The point is not to see how much you can endure. The point is to stretch just enough that your mind can adapt without feeling attacked. You might add 2 more minutes to your quiet sitting, or 2 more minutes to your focused work, or a slightly longer walk. At the same time, you begin to sprinkle in a new habit, pausing for about 10 seconds before you react. When something triggers you, a message, a tone of voice, a sudden worry, you practice breathing, noticing your body, and asking, what would be a more loving response? Those 10 seconds are your healing. They are where you stop the old automatic story and choose a softer script. So month 2 becomes a time of learning to stretch without snapping. A little more time with your practice, a little more space before reacting, a little more positive self-talk woven into your day. You might say quietly, "I am learning to respond with love. I am learning to take a breath before I speak." You are not whipping yourself forward. You are lengthening the moments of peace. As you step into the third month, we turn our attention to your environment because your mind will have a much easier time obeying you when your surroundings are not constantly pulling you backwards. I want you to imagine yourself gently clearing away some of the noise, perhaps turning off a few notifications, unsubscribing from something that constantly agitates you. or tidying a small corner of the space where you work or rest. You do not have to renovate your whole life. You might simply decide, this little table is my peaceful space, and place a candle, a glass of water, a notebook, and a sentence that comforts you, like, my environment supports my mind. Every time you see that corner, your nervous system gets a little reminder. Here, we rest, we focus, we listen. During this month, you are saying to life, I will meet you halfway. I will make a place where I can hear you. You might clean one drawer or create a simple evening ritual in that corner, writing down 3 thoughts you want to keep, or reading one loving sentence aloud. You are cutting the escape routes that lead you back into overstimulation and clutter, not by punishing yourself, but by surrounding yourself with softness and clarity. By the 4th month, your inner leadership is ready to become more visible in your actions. Remember our 3-second principle? Now you begin to apply it specifically to the things you know are good for you. When a loving action appears in your awareness, sending that email, standing up to stretch, taking out the trash, washing your face, opening your notebook, you practice beginning within 3 seconds, whenever you can, not finishing perfectly, just beginning. At the same time, when an old, harsh thought pops up, I'm so behind, I always fail, this is pointless, you catch it sooner and trade it for a more supportive one. I am learning. I am starting now. This small step matters. Month 4 becomes a dance. See the right thing. Begin quickly. See the unkind thought. Change it quickly. You are teaching your brain which signals are important. You might even say, when love speaks, I move. When fear speaks, I soothe and choose again. The more you pair loving commands with small immediate actions and fearful thoughts with gentle correction, the more your mind begins to obey the voice that is kind. Now let's imagine the 5th and 6th months as a time of deep alignment, a season where you and your mind agree on what really matters. Up until now, you have been practicing commands and actions. Now you are going to give your mind a compass. Quietly, perhaps with a cup of tea, you write down a few values that feel sacred to you. Maybe peace, health, honesty, love, creativity, or service. You don't need a long list. 3 to 5 is plenty. Then you begin to ask, before decisions big and small, does this support my peace? Does this honor my body? Does this match my honesty? Does this come from love? Little by little, you stop using panic, guilt, and pressure as your guides, and you use your values instead. So when your mind tries to drag you into an argument online, you can say, no, my value is peace. When your old pattern wants to keep you in a draining situation, you can ask, is this kind to my health? Is this truthful for me? If the answer is no, you have permission to choose differently. You might repeat to yourself, I live according to my values now. I let my values lead my mind. As you do this for a couple of months, something beautiful begins to happen. Your decisions line up, your inner voice sounds clearer, and the universe life itself can see where you are going and support you more easily because you are no longer sending mixed signals. So you see, my dear, training your mind to obey you is not about hammering it into submission. It is about learning this gentle law of inverted effort, where you stop forcing and start allowing, where you stop fighting your fear and start including it in tiny, safe steps. It is about 6 months of soft practice, small commands kept, pauses before reacting, spaces cleared, 3-second beginnings, and decisions aligned with what you truly value. Through it all, I want you to remember this. You are not making your mind your enemy. You are inviting it to be your friend. And friends do not scream at each other to get things done. They speak clearly, they show up consistently, and they offer images of safety and possibility instead of horror stories. You can put your hand on your heart right now and say, I don't force, I allow. I am scared sometimes, and I am still safe. I am learning to lead my mind with love. The more you say it, and the more you act on it in small, kind ways, the more your beautiful mind will believe you and follow you. Have you noticed, my dear, that it is easy to talk about training the mind in theory, but the real test is how you live when it comes to money, health, and the people you love? We can sit quietly and say beautiful affirmations, and I want you to. But the real transformation happens when those gentle commands begin to show up in your bank account, in your nervous system, and in your conversations. So let's bring this down to earth together. Think of your mind as a loving assistant who is always listening for instructions. And think of these next areas: wealth, healing, relationships, happiness, as the rooms where that assistant is working every day. If the commands are harsh, confusing, or full of fear, your assistant will run around frantically, get exhausted, and make a mess. If the commands are clear, kind, and repeated, everything begins to settle. You don't have to fix your whole life in 1 week. You only need to give your mind new, loving orders in the places where you have been suffering the most, and then practice them in small, concrete ways. Let's walk into these rooms one by one, and I will show you how to let your mind obey you in a way that feels safe and real. When we talk about wealth, most people want to jump straight to, how do I make more? But your mind will not obey a command to earn more if deep inside it is still running the old program. I am not worthy to receive. The mind hears unworthy first and money second. So we start not with the numbers, but with the message. You can put your hand on your heart and say, I am worthy of a calm and loving relationship with money. Feel how different that is from, I must get rich or I am nothing. Your nervous system softens a little, doesn't it? When you train your mind around money, I want you to change the root command from fear to love. Instead of, if I don't control every cent, something terrible will happen, you begin to say, I manage money with love, not with fear. You can imagine money as a gentle river flowing through your life, not a violent storm you have to survive. Then, to teach the mind to obey this new picture, you give it one small action each day, not 1,000. Maybe today you write down what you spent, not to punish yourself, but to say, I am willing to see clearly. Maybe tomorrow you move a tiny amount into savings, even just a symbolic sum, and whisper, I am learning to care for my future self. Another day, you might watch 10 minutes of a simple, kind teaching about finances, and you say, I'm teaching my mind a new language about money. The habit is not drama, it is consistency. One gentle financial action per day tells your subconscious, we are safe enough to be responsible. We are worthy enough to be prepared. Over time, this creates a mind that obeys when you say, let's save or let's invest, instead of dragging you back into avoidance or panic. You are not forcing your mind to chase wealth. You are inviting it to cooperate with a new identity. I am someone who treats money and myself with respect. Now let's step into the room of healing, the beautiful pharmacy inside of you that I like to call your inner pharmacy. Your body is listening to your thoughts all the time. When your mind is constantly sending signals of danger, I'm never going to get better, my body is my enemy, something is wrong with me, your inner pharmacy floods you with stress chemicals. It thinks it must help you run or fight. When you begin to send signals of safety, the body can shift into repair. That is why I so often repeat, softly and lovingly, my body knows how to heal. Say it with me, my body knows how to heal. You don't have to know every detail of how your cells work. You only need to stop interrupting the healing process with a constant barrage of fear. So we give your mind a clear healing order. We choose safety. We choose cooperation. We choose trust. And again, we anchor it in a tiny daily habit, not a grand performance. Each morning, before you plunge into the day, give yourself 3 minutes. Sit or lie down. Put one hand on your heart and one on your belly and breathe gently. You don't have to do fancy breathing, just in and out, perhaps a little slower than usual. With each exhale, imagine your inner pharmacy receiving the message, it's okay to heal now. Then say one loving sentence to your body, like, thank you, body, for doing your best. Or, every cell in my body is learning to feel safe. This is your healing command. Do you see what we are doing? Instead of fighting your illness with hatred, you are training your mind to send your body a different prescription: calm, gratitude, permission. Over weeks and months, this becomes a reflex. When fear rises, your practiced response is, my body knows how to heal. I am safe to support it with kindness. You may still go to the doctor. You may still take medicine, and you should. But now your mind is working with your body, not against it. In the room of relationships, the training becomes even more delicate because other people press all the old buttons inside us. Many times, your mind has been trained to obey the trigger. Someone speaks sharply, and before you have even taken a breath, you fire back or you shut down. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, what it would be like if your mind, instead of obeying the trigger, obeyed you. Think of a recent argument or misunderstanding. The old command might have been, defend yourself now or you'll be hurt, and your mouth rushed ahead before your heart could catch up. The new command we are going to practice is pause, soften, then speak. This is such a simple sentence, but it can save so much pain. When you feel that heat rising, that urge to answer immediately, I want you to let your mind hear, like a gentle bell. Pause, soften, then speak. Feel your shoulders drop a little. Unclench your jaw. This is where we add a habit of obedience. Before you answer someone, especially when you are stirred up, you practice taking one slow exhale. That's all. One breath out. In that breath, you are telling your mind, I am not in a war. I can choose my words. You might put your hand on your chest or touch your fingers together to remind yourself, I am here. I don't have to react from injury. Over time, your mind learns. We do not speak from the first wave of hurt. We wait until the water is a bit calmer. It becomes natural to say, I need a moment, or let me think about that, instead of lashing out or abandoning yourself. And when you do speak, your words carry the energy of someone who has stayed with themselves. Mind obey here simply means, I do not let old wounds drive the conversation. I let my deeper self give the instructions. The relationship, whether it is with a partner, a friend, a child, or a colleague, begins to feel safer because you are not throwing emotional grenades at every small discomfort. You are saying, pause, soften, then speak, and your mind, trained in love, follows. Now let's talk about happiness, but in a new way, because I want your happiness to rest on a foundation of peace, not on a tight little performance. Many people think happiness is something loud and constant, like fireworks, and if they are not feeling that, they assume something is wrong. But true happiness, the kind that stays, feels more like a quiet warmth in the chest. It is not a command to be cheerful at all costs. It is a gentle daily direction. Move toward what feels a little more loving, a little more soft. So I want you to think of happiness as a gentle order you give your mind each morning, built on the deeper order of peace. You might stand at your mirror, look into your own eyes, and say, today I choose peace, and happiness can visit. You see, you are not demanding, I must be happy all day or I failed. You are setting a tone. I choose the calmer path, and if joy wants to join me, it is welcome. Your mind hears that and relaxes. It does not have to force laughter. It only has to look for the softer, kinder option in each moment. And because the mind obeys repetition, you say this most mornings, in your own way, with your own rhythm. Then we support this with what I like to call a mental diet. Just as you might gently reduce certain foods if they make your body feel heavy, you begin to reduce what your mind consumes if it makes your spirit heavy. Perhaps you notice how much time you spend complaining, replaying bad news, or feeding on stories that frighten you. You don't have to become a saint overnight. You just begin to say, I will complain a little less today. I will click on one less frightening headline. I will add one kind sentence. You might choose to start your day with one uplifting paragraph instead of 10 anxious posts. You might stop yourself halfway through a harsh story about yourself and say, no, my dear, we are not feeding on that today. Instead, you offer your mind a different meal. I am learning. I am growing. I am doing better than I think. Little by little, your mental diet shifts from criticism and catastrophe to curiosity and compassion. Your mind, used to being whipped, now receives softer signals and begins to obey them more readily. So, when you put it all together, money, healing, relationships, happiness, you begin to see a beautiful pattern. You are no longer shouting, "Obey me," at a frightened mind. You are giving it loving commands and then proving through small daily actions that those commands are safe to follow. Around wealth, you say, "I am worthy, and I will care for money calmly," and you take one gentle financial step a day. Around healing, you say, "My body knows how to heal," and you give it 3 minutes of breath and a kind word each morning. Around relationships, you say, "Pause, soften, then speak," and you honor that with one exhale before you answer. Around happiness, you say, "Today I choose peace," and happiness can visit. And you nourish your mind with better thoughts, less noise, and more tenderness. This is how the universe works through you more and more easily. Not because you have bullied your mind into silence, but because you have taught it patiently to trust your leadership. Your mind begins to understand. When she gives a command, it comes from love. When he chooses a direction, it is to keep us safe and whole. And then, my dear, life can send you ideas, opportunities, and connections that match this new way of being. You are not just training your mind to obey, you are training it to obey the voice of your deepest, gentlest self. That is where your true power lives. My dear, remember this. When you treat your mind with love instead of fear, it begins to trust you. It begins to follow you, and life can finally flow through you with grace. You don't have to bully yourself into change. You only need to speak to yourself the way you would speak to a precious child you adore. Tell yourself, "I am safe. I am guided. I am willing to learn." As you do, your thoughts soften, your choices align, and the universe has a clear, open channel to bless you. Be gentle with your mind tonight. You are not alone in this. Life is on your side. Life loves you, and so do I.